Hey everybody, this is Blue, and I wanted to talk about solo role playing today. Solo role playing is when you are kind of the game master and the player at the same time. You know, there are times where you can't get the group together. My situation was with Rolemaster. I was at one time part of a 5-person group, but getting everybody together was nearly impossible. We had went from sometimes like 3 months in between adventures because everybody had jobs and one of the guys was married. And so we couldn't get together, and I got tired of waiting. And this was back in the had been early 90s, and so this was pre-internet, and so I could not, you know, enjoy my hobby as much as I wanted to, and I had came to a decision that I was going to try to role play by myself. And that's one of the reasons why I like Rolemaster so much, is because it has all the rules, um, and all these charts. I can roll the dice and I can let the chart decide, hey, did my character succeed or fail? Or did he have partial success? And so by setting up some scenarios with options and trusting the dice, I was able to do a lot more adventuring, and I ended up actually enjoying it a great deal. Because since I was living alone at the time, um, I had an area closed off where only I messed around with anything in there. And so I could do an adventure, you know, an hour or two here, an hour or two there, and actually accomplish something in small increments but throughout the week. And I enjoyed it. Um, but to do any solo role playing, you have to do one thing and one thing only. You have to be honest with yourself. If you cannot be honest with yourself when you're playing the game, then there's no point in doing it. The example I'm going to give is Surat, which is one of my one of my PCs I used to have. The story was that in a neighboring village to where my group was living at, it was getting harassed by a local starred-up warlord. And when my group found out about it, they decided that they were going to investigate it. Surat was a tarot mage, and I had a bard also in the group. And so those two would drive around, you know, to different villages and sell their services and make money. That was their thing. And so the plan was that the group was going to drive to where this petty warlord was at, and they were going to form two groups. My Terramasian Mard were going to be on the wagon, and they were going to slowly go into town where everybody else was in sight but in the woods. This is by the Ardennes forest, okay? So you know setting. And unfortunately, this village was very corrupt. They couldn't ask for help because the mayor of this village was corrupt, and he was taking money, and he was saying that he was forced to give it to the local warlord, but he was actually pocketing some of it himself. And through the corruption, the local warlord knew that what was coming on. And so Surat and Maynor went into town, well, by the camp, and they were attacked, and it took a while for the rest of my group to get there. Now, I always try to have a good, well-balanced attackers, so If my guys have ranged weapons, the opponents have ranged weapons. You know, it's not going to be a slaughter. And unfortunately, one of the thugs had 2 lucky rolls. He was in range with his short bow, and he rolled and he served an E critical, which is the highest critical that Rolemaster has. And then when I went to roll for critical for the see what extra damage Surratt took, E100, impaled and dead. I was pissed because this is my second round of combat. Combat was probably going to last around 25 rounds, the way I got figured out in my head. So I figured, you know, those two can do their thing, you know, and hopefully the rest can come in and my 8 members of my group could, you know, take out these petty thugs. And for a moment there, I was trying to think of everything I could possibly do to save Surratt, but he was supposed to be dead before he hits the ground. I even thought about just ignoring that dice roll. Okay, I was going to be dishonest and cheat. And I stopped and I just reminded myself this is a game and I need to be honest with myself. So I opened up my drawer, pulled out the red marker of doom, and I wrote dead on Surratt's character page. It was one of my little customs I got from the group that I was in. Whenever a character died, you put dead on it and a red marker so nobody can say, this is a new character, it's not a different one. You know. But if you can't be honest with yourself, there's no reason to play him, because you can have your character walk outside, get struck by lightning, and all of a sudden he's a level 34 whatever. So, you know, solo adventuring is great because, like for me, when I was driving to and from work, I was working out scenarios and game dynamics in my head. If I noticed that something wasn't working right, you know, I could work on it in my head, then come home and I could make an adjustment, you know, to the game dynamics. It was wonderful. I always had the right snacks on hand. I always had a couple of Pepsis in the fridge. And so it was a very relaxing experience. And so if you want to solo role play, as long as you are honest with yourself and can take the good with the bad, go for it. It is fun. Make sure that you have a gaming system like Rolemaster that has a lot of charts so that it's the dice that are deciding, not you. So I hope you enjoyed the video. Leave any comments that you have below, and everybody please take care and be at peace.